All right, today on The Explainer, we are diving deep into one of the internet's darkest corners to look at a series of pretty shocking stories. And they all started on the anonymous forum 4chan.
It's a question we probably don't ask ourselves enough. What really happens when the digital world, our online lives, spills over into the physical one? Well, as you're about to see, the answer is kind of terrifying. So, let's get into it. We're talking about how a few keystrokes from the internet's so-called Wild West have led to some incredibly real and incredibly serious consequences. We're talking everything from FBI investigations all the way to actual military airstrikes. So, let's kick things off back in 2018 with a case that started out as, a supposed joke? A user on 4chan decided to post this elaborate fantasy. But oh boy, it did not stay a fantasy for long. It escalated, and fast, into a full-blown federal investigation. Okay, so get this. Some user posts this insanely detailed plan to rob a specific PNC bank branch. We're talking specific descriptions of the bank employees, photos of guns, the whole shebang. And for law enforcement, there was no way they were just going to brush this off as some simple joke. It was way too specific.
And this wasn't just, I'm going to rob a bank. No, this was a step-by-step tactical plan. The level of detail was so alarming that the local sheriff's office immediately got the FBI involved, only to find out that the bureau had already gotten a tip about the exact same post. Crazy, right?
So when investigators finally track this post to a 20-year-old guy's house, he confesses pretty quickly. But his excuse? He said it was all just a game. He was LARPing, which, if you don't know, stands for live-action role-playing. He said, hey, I'm a customer at that bank, so I know the layout. It was all just for fun.
Yeah, the authorities, they didn't really see the humor in it. They found a gun in his home, and with a post that detailed, the line between just a fantasy and a credible threat had been completely erased. So what started as a joke ended with some very, very real legal trouble. All right, if you thought that was intense, let's go back a bit further, to 2009, for a story that's even more disturbing. We're escalating here from, potential prison time to a genuine matter of life and death. And the craziest part? It all played out, in real time, right there on the forum.
The way this whole thing escalated is just chilling. So a user posts that he found a grenade. Naturally, other users are like, no way, it's fake. So what does he do? He posts another picture for proof. And then they dare him to do something with it. His last post is a picture implying he just might. And then, poof, he's gone. Complete silence.
So, right after this guy goes completely silent, another user posts a screenshot of a news article. It's from Guatemala. And the details, they are just eerily similar. It's about a 17-year-old boy killed when a grenade exploded in his bathroom. The article even mentions the grenade belonged to his father, who was a former military member, exactly what the original poster had claimed.
And this is where the real tragedy of it all hits you. Because of 4chan's total anonymity, we'll probably never know for sure if the boy in that news report was the same person from the thread. It just leaves this chilling, unresolved story about how online dares can have the most devastating real-world consequences.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. The next case we're looking at widens the scope from an individual tragedy to, believe it or not, an organized digital war. This is the incredible story of how the hacker collective known as Anonymous decided to take on one of the most powerful and, frankly, brutal criminal organizations in the world, the Los Zetas cartel. So this whole thing kicked off with something called Operation Paperstorm. And the goal, was pretty noble. Fight propaganda and misinformation by having people all over the world post flyers with uncensored information. The problem is, some groups really don't like having their secrets exposed.
And the Los Zetas cartel, who controlled huge parts of Mexico, definitely saw this as a direct threat. If their illegal operations got exposed, that would be a disaster for them. So, to shut it down, they actually identified and kidnapped one of the anonymous supporters who was putting up anti-cartel posters in Veracruz.
This was a massive escalation. Anonymous hit back hard. They issued this direct ultimatum on October 6, 2011. And when the cartel didn't respond, Anonymous launched Operation Cartel and just started publishing all these details of cartel collaborators and their dirty dealings for the entire world to see.
Now, faced with a very real threat of having their entire operation exposed, the cartel finally caved. They released the kidnapped member. He was reportedly badly beaten up. But he didn't come back empty-handed. He came back with a message a final, chilling warning from the cartel to the hackers.
And that warning was just brutal. They said that for every single name of a cartel collaborator that Anonymous leaked, the cartel would retaliate by executing 10 innocent civilians. 10. Faced with that horrifying choice, Anonymous decided the risk to innocent lives was just too great, and they called off the operation.
Okay, and now we arrive at what might be the ultimate escalation in all of this. A story where an anonymous message board didn't just influence events, it literally guided a real-world military action during the Syrian civil war.
So check this out. In 2016, a rebel group posts a video of their encampment on YouTube. Almost immediately, users on a 4chan war thread start crowdsourcing intelligence. They're using satellite photos to geolocate the exact position, and once they find it, they send the coordinates to a pro-Russian war blogger named Ivan, who they know has direct contacts inside the Russian military.
And the speed here is just incredible. It took these anonymous users on 4chan less than an hour to find the exact spot from just one video. And get this, less than 20 minutes after the blogger Ivan got the info, he tweeted the coordinates directly at the official Twitter account for Russia's Ministry of Defense.
The result? A successful airstrike right on the rebel position. Ivan even thanked 4chan for their help later on. And this wasn't just a fluke either. The process was so effective that 2 months later, they did the exact same thing, found another training camp from a YouTube video, and guided a second successful strike. So, when you look at all these stories together, you start to see this undeniable pattern, right? It's about the escalating power that anonymous online communities can have. That line between what happens on a screen and what happens out on the street, well, it's getting really, really blurry.
I mean, we've really seen the progression here. It starts with a post that's laughed off as a joke, but ends with a real arrest. Then it moves to a thoughtless online dare that may have actually cost a young man his life. It escalates to a full-on digital war with a real-world hostage, and it culminates in anonymous users on the internet guiding actual bombs to their targets. It's a wild ride.
And all of this leaves us with one final and pretty provocative question. In a world where anyone can say anything without a name attached, and where those words can lead to very real, very violent consequences, who's actually responsible? It's a really complex moral question, and one we have to grapple with in this super-connected, anonymous digital world we've built.